Three, two, one. I'm John Miglosh for the WDMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Got a lot of ground to cover, so I'm going to start off with a silly commercial that I really like. Okay, we'll just start playing it over here. I cut the front off. Oops. A little bit. Guy's been in prison for years. The guard gives him a Christmas present. It's a file. You can see that. He files the window bars off, whips out the window. Now the guard's thinking, oops, I wonder if I shouldn't have done that. Too late. Uh-oh. Here's the noise. Here comes the guy back with... Apparently they become friends over the years. He comes back with Christmas dinner. How cool is that? I think that's great. Okay, you can see I'm just a sentimental old fool, and that's too bad. That's what you get. But, and I like Christmas too, so I'll show you those Christmas things for the next few weeks. So anyway, Tom Fishburne this week has his usual insight into things. And the customer's exiting the store, and you see beep, 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 you know, which happens to me quite often. Not because I'm walking out with it, but because these dumb things don't work right. Oh, just keep going. That thing doesn't work. That's what they usually say to me. And think, no, I'll come back and get a few more things. Anyway, madam, I'm going to need proof to see proof that you completed our customer satisfaction survey. Right, ain't that the truth? And one of the things I highly recommend is that you subscribe to Tom, and not only subscribe to him, but when you see a new cartoon, scroll down. Okay, this is important. Scroll down, because he talks about he was buying a car, and the salesman over and over and over said, you got to fill out the customer satisfaction survey. You got to give us 5 stars. And as somebody commented, when they say you have to give 5 stars, then they don't really want your opinion. They just want the 5 stars. So they're not getting the customer's real feedback. And this poignantly says, if we truly want to hear the voice of the customer, I think organizations need to learn to listen when it's most convenient for the customer, not the organization. I think that's really important. Then he talks about when he was involved with a startup, they would all take turns answering calls. And the phone system would just make your phone ring. You had to pick it up and talk to somebody. And they would get complaints about their product not removing the stains on the granite countertops or whatever. But it really got the message across that everyone in the office, from accounting to product development to marketing, it got the message who they actually worked for. And he's got more cartoons. You know, I have had real jobs a few times. And we're relaunching a catalog that we launched in 1982, I think it was. And I was the vice president of marketing eventually. And I used to tell the salespeople who, you know, that whole department, customer service and telemarketing, inbound, outbound, worked for me. And at lunch, I'd sometimes go down and take some calls. And I was a disaster because we sourced a lot of products. It was all imprinted products. See if I have any imprinted products around here. Well, I've got this from ListTrack, which is a really nice pen. Is that right side up? No. ListTrack. I like this pen, ListTrack. If you're out there, I'll keep you in mind. Anyway, we sold that stuff. But, you know, for every one product we put in the catalog that was keyed into the computer, we had probably 10 or 20 or 100 alternatives that we didn't. And so somebody'd call up and say, can I get a pen made out of bubble gum? And I would think to my head, oh, yeah, we can get that. but we didn't have pricing. We didn't have where the vendor was. It would be days of work trying to find it, and that wasn't what we were set up for. So I would be a disaster because I would try to help the customer, and I knew too much, and I messed it all up. I also would monitor the customer service calls and the inbound phone calls. I had my phones. I was in charge of the phone system, so regularly at my desk I would hear call after call after call, and I get a sense of if they were really close together, then we were busy, and if they were pretty good spaces of quiet, then we weren't busy. And we'd have a customer calling and asking a question like that, and yes, we can get that. I know how to get that. And but the telesales was about, I don't know, 200 yards from my office, so I never could get down there in time to change anything, and I wasn't set up to say anything, cut into the call. And the other thing I set up was, and I'd encourage all of you VPs of marketing or CMOs or whatever, is I would, I heard a seminar where they had this, they had the regular telecenter, but then they had another person that would go down to the president's office, and there was a desk set up right outside their office, the office of the president. And if they had a really terrible customer service problem, they could say, well, wait a minute, I'll send you to the office of the president. And they literally would transfer the call to that other extension, and they would take turns servicing, sitting at that desk. So it literally was right outside the office of the president, and it was, they had a little extra authority, and it made the customers feel great, that they were talking to somebody right there at the office of the president of the company. And so I took a page out of that book, and I said, but you can do this stuff. I said, if you get a particularly difficult customer that you can't handle, you just transfer to me. Well, you're doing your spreadsheets or you're doing something else or talking to vendors, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and you have to. It was set up so basically if my phone was ringing, somebody had already screened it, and I had to pretty much pick it up. So you pick it up, and somebody's complaining that they bought 500 Rolls Lifesavers imprinted with their company name on it, and they thought it was only going to be 5 or 50 or something, and it was $1,000, they were like $2 a piece or something, I don't know, and or they misspelled their own logo wrong, and they wanted a credit, stuff like that, and I remembered some of these calls, people yelling and screaming at me, but I'll tell you what, those customer service people really liked that I got involved with the customers, that I listened to the customers. And if they needed me to listen to a customer, all they had to do was put them on hold and send them over to me. Okay? Now, in this digital age, I sometimes feel like we want to pull all the strings. As marketers, we want to, have AI buy our digital ads, and the money for every dollar we spend, we get $1.20 back, or $2 or $10 or whatever it is. And it's all like a symphony, and we just sit there like this, and we never have to play an instrument, because you all suspect that, right? I was directing Beethoven in my car the other day, and I suspect that though I could never play an instrument in any one instrument in any of that orchestra, I could conduct, because I have a baton. It's on the wall behind me. It was an award I won. I have a baton. I could do that. I don't know that I could, but I don't have a clue what goes into it, so I think I could. And that's the way we want to be as marketers. We want to be the grand master, pulling the strings and running the puppets. And digital works with that really well, because, you don't even know what's going on. You don't know where it's going. You don't know where it's being placed. And I've done talks on this, how, some environmental thing is being put on beef jerky website because it's getting lots of hits or something crazy like that. There's that stuff happening all day long. Fraud bots and all this stuff, because some other orchestra grandmaster is trying to siphon money out of your budget without you getting even exposure in an ad. So it's just perfect for that. And you wonder why the CMO only lasts 18 months. Take some calls. Talk to some customers. I had a client that sold industrial supplies, and they called me, and I used to do these one-day things. I could still do one if you wanted. Where I'd come in and just look things over and give you some ideas on how to grow your company. And I had some great successes. I had companies just, like double in size in months because of a couple of things I said. So I'm really good at that. If you're slogged along. I'm expensive, but, it's worth it. Anyway, so I said to this guy, do you have any idea how many of your previous top 10% customers from last year haven't bought yet this year? No. Well, anyway, they ran a report, and it was 3/4 of them. And this was already in March. And I said, you ought to call these people. And this was the son of the owner. You know how that is. The founder, son of the founder. And he said, well, we don't have an outbound telecenter. I said, let me say that again. You ought to call these people. And he's still, I said, you ought to call these people. You want to hear the voice of the customer? Pick up the phone. And catalog people have been guilty of this for decades. Ever since I've been involved. They want to send out catalogs and collect money. That's great. But every now and then you should get an idea of what's going on, I think. So that's what so Tom Fishburne is right. Get off the computer and talk on the phone. And I need to listen to the same advice for myself. Like and share.